Hi. Conviction is an 18-card cooperative
Don't you mean competitive?
deck builder for two with a 15-minute playtime. Warning though, this game centers relationship conflicts.
And unbalanced power dynamics?
Play as either the idealist
Or the stalwart?
as we navigate a grim quarrel during our happily ever after. Cards have either my suit or my partner's suit, and will each have a deck. Your deck's dominant suit will determine where your convictions lie. That means that if their deck has mostly cards of my suit, I've convinced them to see things my way.
And vice versa?
So while I could use cards of my suit for their special action, I will need to shift some of them into their deck if I want to win the argument. I could always put cards directly into their deck by expressing my feelings. But I could also use them for their special action to do things like compare, to move cards from our shared support network into their deck, or sabotage, to get their nasty cards out of my deck and into the reject pile, where they're gone for good. If we both manage to change our minds an equal amount, that means we've managed to see eye to eye and we'll share a cooperative victory. Doesn't that sound nice?
Yeah, real peachy. Am I allowed to talk now?
Fine. It's not like I spent all day rehearsing or anything.
Listen, you don't know them like I do. They've been controlling the narrative. You have to keep them out of your head, change their mind, and assert dominance. After all, if neither of us change, then we're going to separate and a stalemate, and we can't let that happen, right? Stand by your convictions.
Let's see how this story plays out. First, we search the deck for the listen cards for each player, one for the idealist and one for the stalwart. Next, we shuffle the cards and we reveal three, and those cards will go to their respective players. So these two are going to go to the stalwart because of their suit, and this one will go to the idealist. The cards will be uneven. Each player will then get two cards from the deck without peeking. All these cards are going to be used to form their starting decks. Next, we'll split the remaining cards into a face-up support network of 6 cards and 3 cards face down for a reject pile. The players will shuffle their decks and draw 3 cards as their starting hand. The stalwart starts with their listen card and then publicize, both for themselves and the idealist. Listen allows them to draw cards from the support deck into their own deck, and publicize allows them to remove cards from their deck and put them back into the support deck. The player with more cards will go first, which means the stalwart will take the first move. Turns have 4 steps, and the first step is activating cards of your choice. The stalwart could play either of these cards of their suit and chooses to play Listen. They draw the Withdraw into their deck, and then they also take the Idealist's Undertake, which will benefit the Idealist in the end, but they want to show that they're working cooperatively. Next, you could express cards by putting them onto either player's deck, and I'm going to put Publicize onto the Idealist's deck. That is the only way to win after all. If I had 2 of these cards of the Idealist suit, then I'd be able to end the game early with Acquiesce, but I don't want to do that yet, so I'm just going to express it onto my deck. The fourth step is taking all the cards you've played and shuffling them and drawing back up to 3 cards. This time I have Fabricate and Embrace. Fabricate would let me put cards in their deck into the reject pile, and Embrace allows them to draw an additional card. The Idealist takes their turn and starts by sabotaging, which removes my card that I placed onto their deck and puts it in the reject pile. Next, they compare, which allows them to put cards from the support network into my deck. That's 2 Idealist cards for me. Lastly, they use Listen to draw a card from the support deck and add to their own deck. They also could have drawn my Undertake, but they don't want it seems. They just went through almost all the cards in the support network. There's only one card left. If that card is removed, then the game immediately ends. So they just accelerate the game very quickly. I draw back up to 3 cards, and then it's my turn again. Well, now I'm in a very rough position. My deck is full of their cards, and they don't have a lot of my cards, at least as far as I know. I could fabricate to remove one of their cards and put in reject pile, but I'm determined to stay cooperative. I'm going to instead use embrace as one last appeal to them, and hopefully they start working with me instead. Now, I think I will express both of these cards into their deck. My deck has a bit too many idealist cards, and I really need to get some of my cards into their deck. Alright, well, let's shuffle and draw 3 and see what they do. I've got a lot of cards in my hand now. I could acquiesce if I wanted to end the game early, but I don't think it's a great idea. Looks like they're using Pride to check out what's in my deck and put it in the support deck. And it's another one of my cards. Okay. And now they're using Withdraw to put cards into the discard pile. And it looks like they're going to do that with the last 2 support cards, which will end the game immediately. Let's set aside the reject pile and then tally up our cards and see whose mind changed. As expected, the idealist has a lot of cards of their suit and only 1 card of my suit. That means their mind did not change at all. Whereas my deck has exactly 1 more idealist card than stalwart card, which means that they definitely changed my mind. In fact, I could make them win even more by discarding the listen card, as the cards with stars on them are cooperative and can be discarded instead of blocking a partner's card. If neither of us had changed their mind, it wouldn't really matter how many extra cards of our own suit we had, as they all get discarded regardless. In the end, the idealist dominates this relationship. Hey there, Zoe here. Thank you for hanging out with me for so long. And so, how are you feeling on all this stuff about a relationship conflict and potentially breaking up? Could be very serious business and to some people very traumatic. I am not just saying that. I was going through a breakup myself when I was designing this game. It's just that I think games have a very unique power to enable us to explore these sort of turbulent interactions with our people with the sort of layer of safety with the whole magic circle dealy. Not perfect by any means, but it's powerful, and I don't think we use it enough for that, you know? I took a lot of inspiration from Esther Perel, a relationship therapist when I designed this game. I was really intrigued by her thoughts on how the relationships we have inform who we are and the stories we tell about ourselves. And so I wanted to design the game that enabled players to tell their own relationship story, if that makes sense. I've had some people tell me that some of the more impactful experiences they've had was treating it like a role playing game. And I I think that's great. I tried to. The game doesn't actually have any role playing mechanics, but still, to honor that, I put in some safety tools, sort of like the X card, where so first of all, communication is highly encouraged. It's one of the best ways to have a cooperative victory in the game. But also, the game encourages you to check in on how you're feeling emotionally and how the other player is doing emotionally. Make sure they understand the experience they're getting into, that they can opt out at any time. The players are more important than the game. And also that any sort of emotional leakage is addressed. I sincerely hope that you give Conviction a try and that you have a good experience with it. My hope is that you might learn something about the way that you approach relationships through it, or maybe how a friend approaches relationships. I know I did. So, thank you. You have a nice day now. Bye. And thank you so much for hanging out with me for so long.